Hi folks, I'm Joel, and welcome to the next in our series on composable architectures and how do you get started with doing them. And this is the actual title of this video. How do I get started with a composable architecture? It's really complicated if you look at a whole bunch of different pieces. Let's break it down, make it super simple, and get you on your way. Let's dig in. So we talked about composable and the pieces of the pie that make up your composable, and I call it a stack. You can also draw these things out of sort of a stack of technologies or services that work together to provide your complete solution. And in my experience, there's always been one that tends to be at the center of pretty much every composable stack, and that is CMS. You're always going to need content no matter what kind of digital property you're creating. And my advice is to start with the CMS first. Think about that. Think about how you want that to work. It has to be headless CMS to work in a composable stack. Don't go down the road where you end up with a bunch of technologies that you want to use that don't have APIs and aren't, they don't have the sort of the aspects of what we talked about in the first video of like, are they modular? Do they kind of work together in a good way? So you need a good composable CMS. And of course, full transparency, I'm from Agility. So I'd love you to use Agility CMS, but this applies to pretty much every headless CMS that's out there. Now, when we look at where a lot of folks are coming from in the traditional DXP sense, this was the diagram that we used previously, where you're going to get everything in the box out of the box. But the one part didn't show in that diagram is the actual website. If you're using traditional DXP for a website, which is typically what people are using it for, then that's included as part of what you do. If you're building a composable stack, the website is choose your own adventure. You get to do whatever you want with that. And so your initial composable stack is going to start with the CMS. It's going to start with your content and what you need in there. And then it's going to start with your website, and that can be on a completely different web server. Remember, the CMS, a headless CMS, is just a service. You don't need to host it anywhere, but you do need to decide where you want to host your website. And what's amazing about this is the web server is going to pull the content from the CMS as it needs it, and it's going to work great. So that's how you get that great relationship, and that's how composable stacks work, by using APIs. That pull arrow is really just the web server calling an API in the CMS. What's exciting about this for me as a technology guy and as a developer is that now you can use modern frameworks. In the previous diagram, when I showed a DXP, you can't choose what framework that DXP is using. If it's coded in PHP, you're using PHP. If it's in Java, if it's in .NET, you're stuck with that version of that thing for usually a long time. And as we talked about, changing versions can be really expensive and it can take forever. What's amazing in this stack is I can choose whatever framework I want, and it's pretty easy to change between them. Two of the most really popular and really fast growing frameworks that we've seen in my experience in the last few years, Next.js and Astro. That's in addition to, you can use .NET, you can use Java, you can use PHP. So all of the existing frameworks are there, but now you've got choices, and those choices can include modern frameworks to run on your web server. So this is how I would recommend starting your composable stack. Start with your CMS and then decide what kind of web framework do you want to use. And if you're in talks with a designer, or if you've already got a new design system set up for your website or something in mind that you'd like to work with, Next.js and Astro are amazing to start with in terms of working with design systems, but now you've got tons of options. Composable Stack's the way to go. Start with the CMS. We'd love to talk to you more. There's going to be more in this series. Stay tuned.